You ever stare at a spreadsheet just packed with numbers and get that feeling like something's missing? Well, today, we're going to find the story that's hiding in that data. We're going to learn how to take it from just a bunch of silent numbers and turn it into a visual masterpiece, all using Matlab.
You know, every single dataset is whispering a story, but raw numbers, they can feel like a language we just don't speak. A great plot? Well, that's the translator. So let's start right here. This is our blank canvas. It's simple, yeah, maybe even a little intimidating, but this is where our story truly begins.
So, where do we even begin? Well, every masterpiece starts with a single brushstroke. For us, that very first stroke is creating the most fundamental version of our plot. Let's do it.
Before any artist can paint, they need their materials, right? For us, that means creating our data. First up, we've got to define our x-axis. That linspace command gives us 100 perfectly spaced points between 0 and 2 pi. And that's the secret to getting a really nice, smooth curve. Then it's simple. We just calculate our y values, which is just the sign of each of those x points.
And boom, there it is, our first stroke. With just one simple command, plot x, y, Matlab takes those two columns of numbers and brings them to life. We've just made the leap from abstract data to something we can actually see.
Okay, a line on a graph is a pretty good start, but a masterpiece? It needs context. Without it, your audience has absolutely no idea what they're looking at. So this next phase, it's all about adding that crucial layer of understanding.
I mean, seriously, think about it. If you saw this in a presentation or some lab report, what would it mean to you? Probably nothing. It's just a squiggle. Labels are what turn a simple drawing into a piece of useful, compelling information.
And the best part is, adding this context is incredibly easy. All we need are 3 super straightforward commands: X label, Y label, and title. You just tell Matlab what text you want, and boom, instantly our plot has a name and its axes actually have meaning. Just like that, it's way more professional and, more importantly, people can understand it.
All right, our plot is clear now, but is it compelling? This is where the artist in you gets to come out and play. We're going to develop a real visual style for our plot, choosing the colors and the textures that make it pop.
Just look at the difference here. We can go from that basic default plot to something with a lot more punch just by adding a few little arguments inside that same command. This is how we start to really take control of the look and feel of our story.
You can think of these arguments as choosing your tools from an artist's toolkit. That r-string, that tells Matlab we want a red dashed line, kind of like picking a specific paint color and a cool line style. And line width, 2, that's like switching to a thicker brush to make our stroke more bold and much more visible.
You know, great art is often about the interplay between different elements, right? Our composition is looking good, but let's make it a little more complex, a little more informative, by adding a second line right onto the same canvas.
But first, a quick and incredibly useful touch, the Grid On command. It adds this background grid, see? It's such a simple way to add structure, and it makes it so much easier for your audience to pinpoint the exact values on the graph. A tiny detail that makes a huge difference in readability.
Now, this sequence is absolutely key for layering things. To add our second function, a cosine wave, we first use hold on. This is basically you telling Matlab, hey, don't erase my first plot. Then we can plot our new line. But now we've got 2 lines, so which is which? That's where legend comes in to save the day, giving us a clear key. And finally, hold off tells Matlab we're all finished composing on this canvas.
We've learned all the individual brushstrokes. We've got all the techniques down. Now, let's put them all together and look at the final, complete script that creates our finished work of art.
And here it is, the complete recipe. It all just flows logically, doesn't it? We define our data, make our first styled plot, use hold on to start layering, add that second plot, and then we just sprinkle in all those awesome details that give it context. The final touch is the legend, tying it all together before we finish up with hold off. This right here is your blueprint for turning any data set into a compelling story.
So, we've gone from silent, boring numbers to a clear, visual narrative. We've shown that with just a handful of commands, you're not just a data analyst, you're a storyteller. So the only question left is, what story is your data waiting to tell?